Welcome everybody to another Saturday, beautiful Saturday morning here in the Pacific Northwest. We actually have blue skies, some fluffy clouds in the sky, and it's time for me to fire up this forge. As soon as I remember where I put the starter fuel. Heck with it. I'll go there. Get some paper fired up just because it gets hot fast. We'll throw the coals on top and then we'll start adding some wood in. Does this make it a propane forge? Temporarily at least? Let's see, next step, throw some charcoal on top. Feeling pretty good this morning. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've had some injury to my hips that I've been rehabilitating. The rehab hasn't seemed to do much good, but for some reason this morning I'm not waking up in pain, so I'm able to squat down, pick up charcoal like a young man, which I'm not. I'm now a firmly middle-aged man. All right. The gray beard may speak even more to entering into past middle-aged, but I'm sticking with it. Look at that. I have to use that in the future. My buckets have thawed out, so now I can get to the various things that I had thrown in there to cool off. Well, they got cool all right. We got pretty frigid last week, as you guys saw, but the thaw hit us, I think it was late Monday. I shouldn't say the thaw. Things started thawing. This is the first day I've come out and not seen some snow somewhere on the ground. But I've been able to uncover the turkeys and chickens. I should say turkey and chickens, so that they can actually see the daylight again. And each other. I have two different runs because initially my rooster didn't get along with the turkey. And then we got a whole batch of hens just given to us by a dear friend and neighbor. And they just started laying eggs, really whopping big eggs. If you happen to live here in the Seattle area and you need eggs, let me know. We're doing a dozen for $5. Because we're getting about a dozen a day at this point. Okay, those coals have started. Haven't decided if I'm going to keep using my impromptu rake or my older one. Let's keep it going. I didn't get out here as early today as I have in the last couple of sessions, so I didn't get the fire started first, but I hope you guys can see that I've got a little bit different arrangement on the camera angles and that you approve of them. We'll see as I get over to working on the on the anvil, if that works out well. I'm working on a better camera for being able to see into the forge. That should be arriving in the next couple of days. Fortunately, it didn't get here for today. Ah, that's right, I remember. One of the angles you can't see right yet is that one. When the GoPro died last time, I just turned off that video feed. Now it's back on again. You'll be able to see what I've got going on. All right. The initial coals are definitely catching. I'm not having as much problems with cold today as I did last week. As you can see, I don't even have gloves on at the moment. And as I said, today I'm going to go ahead and see about drying out some of this wood I've got by laying it on top of the hot coals. See if we can start getting some use out of the scrap that I've got laying around here. Which means it's going to get steamy / smoky here in a little bit as I get that stuff laid on there. I am going to make another leaf this morning, and I am going to try to make it out of the 1/4 inch again, because the first one that I did with the 1/4 inch came out so pretty. I'd hate to give up on the idea that I can actually use that media just because I screwed it up once. Seems silly. Okay, you guys see a pretty fire in there? Yeah, you can. It's good that that's a small picture. I suspect if I had brought that to a big picture, it wouldn't look quite as good. But being a small picture, I don't know. We'll see. Like, the new camera I'm getting is a 4K webcam, which I got not just for this, but also just so that I can have, a little bit of vanity when having my Zoom calls and my day-to-day work as a, doing software engineering work and working with customers. I marvel at our current technology I just realized I hadn't done something yet. Let me remedy that. I marvel at our current technology where we complain about 720p. And I'm trying to get up to 4K. And the reason I say that is because it came through my head just now that what I'm trying to do is to get a more lifelike appearance when I'm having to have those conversations with people. Because conversations are always about building trust, right? Conversation I'm having with you is that you trust I'm going to actually provide you some level of entertainment, some level of knowledge, some level of distraction. There's some trust there. And so we get on a Zoom call and we're doing the same thing, right? So then it becomes, the thing that ran through my mind at that point was, I'm going from 720p to 4K just to have that more in-touch feel and to build that trust. And the jingle, I'm old, the jingle came to mind, is it live or is it Memorex? And then you have to think to yourself, how often have we been asked to give trust to something that makes no sense? Because Memorex was 480i at best, because it was a recording, and the whole idea with Memorex was, can you tell if it's the recording or the real thing? And now I'm lamenting that I'm having to show you a fire in 720p instead of 4K. Silliness. We've come a long way. All right, wetwood. It's going to cool my fire a little bit, but that's okay, because I'm not really doing anything that requires extremely hot fire. Let's go ahead and get this piece cleaned up, cut off. If you remember, I tried to do a penny scroll, and let me switch over to the anvil so you can see this. And when I did, it didn't scroll on the piece that I wanted to have scrolled. Instead, scrolled on the other part. So I'm going to cut that off. But it is kind of funny to me. I'm going to be throwing that away. Actually, I'm probably not going to throw it away. What I'm probably going to do is throw it into a bunch of scrap I have, which I expect at some point I'm going to get some powdered steel and do a canister Damascus with these pieces of scrap in there, just to make something with it. So, get to use the cutoff tool that, the cutoff hardy tool that I cleaned up last week to get this where I need it to be. Tool rest. There we go. I think what I'll do, that way you guys can have some sort of view into this, let's put this over here. It's not an exciting process. Let me see if you can actually see anything when I do that. But I want you to get the feel that you're kind of standing here in the smithy with me and able to look over my shoulder. That'll work. Yep, there we go. And you can see I didn't even have to give it air to get this thin stuff warm enough to start doing something with it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit now that I've let it cool a little. Hey Bruce, I got my little excited little dog who likes to come outside with me, follow me everywhere. He's hanging out on the property with me today. Coming into the smithy, going out and checking on the chickens, figuring out what the other big bird is. Looks like a chicken, but weird. All right, let's go ahead and cut this off. Trying to take care not to hit the tool and dull it again already. There we go. I need to spend another session making a bunch of different chisels for myself. And now we've got a cleaned up piece. So, cool. Time to get that hot in the fire, heat it up, make an actual taper there. Do I have a rag I need to worry about? No. No, I think I'm good. Not for a leaf. It'll clean itself up a little bit as I do all this. So the interesting thing about the way that this forge works is it's basically doing what a charcoal barrel will do if you do a top-fed charcoal barrel, where you build the fire down deep and then you start piling stuff on top. The fire will burn up and cook down the charcoal. But because you're using that charcoal on the bottom, it just makes charcoal, falls down, makes charcoal, falls down, and just keeps doing that cycle. Similarly, in that same barrel, if you don't cap that barrel when you're done building it all the way up, it'll actually burn up all the charcoal, and that's, you know, the goal here. So we're just taking the creation of charcoal out of the barrel and putting it directly into the forge. But it means I'm not really wanting to put the wood right into the fire. You're going to see me moving some things around, making sure to not grab the parts of the wood that's already on fire. So that I can keep it cooking, not burning. Wood doesn't burn as hot as charcoal does. So the goal is to make charcoal. And now I see I need to cut these pieces of wood down so that they're actually the length of the fire area I'm working. Otherwise I'm not going to cook it evenly. I could use a hammer over there. Let's see, where's my hammer? Where's my hammer? Oh, I'm just being blind. Typical. let's let you see what I'm doing. With these quick heats, I might not switch back and forth. You can see I'm putting a very short taper on the end of this is what I'm doing. And I'm only worried about making the taper in 2 directions. I'm not worried about pulling the taper back to center. And that's because I'll just turn it up like this, hit it flat, and there you have a leaf. So, let's go ahead and put her back in the fire. Kind of hit that one a little bit wonky, so it flattened it in a weird way. But we're good. And then we'll do the set down that separates the leaf from the stem. Got a good fire going this morning, heating things up nice and easy. Well, now I see that, I'm going to make that a little bit prettier. Let's see. Let's do it by grabbing that. Let's see. That is that camera. I think I will move it just that much and shrink it by that much. There we go. Now my head's not cut off by my contact info, which I need to update one of those. Which one do I need to update? I need to update that one. I have to, the Facebook, because if you're on Facebook watching me, you're not watching my personal account, you're watching my blacksmithing account. So I'm going to pull it back here because I liked that method before, and I'm going to choose to do it from that spot. Okay, you can see starting to set down. Pull that back so that now we start defining where the leaf is. And obviously this is not meant to be a how-to channel. This is just me sharing my joy of doing it to show you why I think you should do it. Number one, it is a fun skill. It's not going to be an easy skill to master, but it's an easy skill to get started in. I'm fortunate that I could actually afford to buy this forge, but you don't need to. You literally could do this with this blower, which costs, I think, about 80 bucks, or if you've got electricity, I don't. I mean, I do, but I don't. I haven't seen fit to use my portable power bank that can, go on for a while, clearly long enough to run this session for a couple hours, at least twice. But I haven't seen fit to use it for the purposes of, all right, I'm going to bring it over to this side now that I've established that. And you can now see better what I'm doing. All right, I think that's thin enough. Yep. But what I was saying is, if you got power, you can just grab an old hair dryer. You can find them easily enough over at Goodwill. Or, borrow your significant other's with her permission, his permission. decoration, but and you've got as much blower as you need. Or you could find yourself, like myself, with an old Christmas blow-up decoration or holiday decoration that no longer holds air, because somebody ran over it with a lawnmower. And that blower is perfectly good, as I understand it, for doing this kind of work, or at least getting started in it. Then you need a length of pipe and some scrap wood to create a box with. Fill that box up with dirt, plain old dirt, and have the pipe go into the, one more thing. Have a hole in that box that the pipe can feed into about midway down. Throw a box of dirt in there. Carve out a little bowl in that dirt. Have the pipe feed into that bowl. And you now have a forge. I've seen folks on YouTube make them. I've seen there's just a number of resources out there that'll show you how to do it. But I've seen it done with all sorts of ways that don't even involve quite what I said. Instead, they build the pipe coming into a mound of dirt on the ground, and then have another mound of dirt on its opposite side, and now you put your charcoal in there. Anyway, point is, there's no real good excuse to not do it if this is actually tickling your fancy. I've even seen smiths, including that one I was just speaking of, where he built that on the ground, where they do all their smithing sitting down. So there are ways to think about any kind of physical limitations you might have and work around it. Make it happen. Make it a joy for yourself. I think I'm going to do something a little different with this. I think this medium is just too thin to be able to do the scroll the way Alex Steele shows it. But it would be perfect, I think, for just thinning out even more and creating a tendril wrap. Not being very clean about my working this edge as a fuller, but the thing about fullers is fullers aren't very clean to begin with, so you come back in and clean it up afterwards. There's a lot of big pieces in blacksmithing that are really areas that are quite forgivable. And then there are areas that are not at all forgivable. So, in other words, you can find ways to fix your gross skills in many cases. But, there are times where the finesse is truly necessary. That's one of the reasons that as a beginner, it's such a fun thing, is because, so you make mistakes. Oftentimes you can fix them, or oftentimes you can make something that's good enough. You may not want to sell it yet because you're not comfortable with that, but it'll work around your house for a little bit till you make something better. Or you figure out how to refine the mistakes that you made previously. do some fire management here and turn the wood a little bit. Yeah, should have made that wood shorter. Live and learn, as I was saying. Get out of the way of the hot metal. Or, since the first rule of blacksmithing is all metal's hot, get out of the way of all metal that's falling or flying or whatever. There we go. I had some charcoal trying to escape on me. I don't have my retaining wall in this time because I know in the long run I'm going to end up having to pull it out when I go to move to the big piece. All right. Okay, continue making this thinner. Wants to twist on me. Let's see if we can fix that. Considering I have to round it in the long run, twist isn't the worst thing. But best to not have it twist while I'm trying to actually get the shape out of it I want. Okay, you can see we're getting a nice long tendril there. I'm going to continue pulling it back here a little bit. And you may have noticed already, I haven't yet made the leaf. I haven't flattened down the leaf. Wondering maybe why that is. The answer is simple. As soon as I make it a leaf, I've given it, instead of a block to heat up, I've given it a thin area to heat up, which means it can more easily burn off like it did last time. So I'm holding off until I get to the point where I have the rest of this drawn out where I think it's going to be the right amount to make the ring and the tendril. Getting spitty at me, little pixies. for a minute, I'm going to just show you what I mean when I say it's a pretty day here, while I go out and grab some wood to put on the fire. Come out behind the camera instead of in front of it and show you. Isn't that gorgeous today? My neighbor gave me all of these scrap cuts of, and they've got nails and staples in them and so forth. And of course, they've been laying out under snow and getting rained on. So they're not perfect yet for working with, but I definitely felt I can start putting them to use, especially since I got plenty of charcoal to fall back on if I need things to get hotter again. I'm going to use a bunch of these little chunks instead of the big stuff that I have to split, mainly because they don't have nails in them and staples to pull out. Got some punky stuff here. That stuff will probably go right up. Some of this is cedar. That's going to smell good when burned. All right. Bring you back inside. There we go. I think that's a good view. You guys can tell me. I think I might have accidentally bumped something, because that now seems way too high. Let's see if I can fix that. That's better. That gives me a better view of the working area and makes it so my head doesn't get cut off, I think. Let's see. Yep, good stuff. All right. Hi, Bruce. All right, let's get this fire back. Let's see those pixies fly, huh? Not trying to be a shill for a brand here, but suddenly got thirsty. Gotta love the sounds of a fire pit, huh? Move a little bit of metal here. It's really not hot enough, but switch the camera back here before I go back into the fire. There's the angry pixies. So one of my favorite channels, I realized that's where the phrase came from, but he uses it for electricity, and that's ABE. His style, it, it, it is irreverent, but fun. And I'm pretty sure he's a decent human being only because of his daughter. Oh, I shouldn't say he's only a decent human being because of his daughter. I know because of his daughter, or I feel because of his daughter. He must be a decent human being. And I like irreverence, so. But he talks about it when it comes to electricity. But for me, it just seems to make more sense considering I'm dealing with fire pixies. That's getting nice and long. I think it's going to be plenty long enough here soon. Let's see if we can get that twist out. Again, the twist is not vital, or not a real problem, because this is going to actually go to being something representing round, you know, a stem. So in the long run, I'm going to take out any corners that would make you realize it's not square anymore. But it's easier for me to reason over if it's not all twisted up. All right, so that's nice. That's the length that Alec talked about, going clear across the face of the anvil. And I'm there now. Having just a little bit extra, which I needed so that I can do the tendril. So I'm going to end up setting that down and starting to bring that to a pointed taper that will just twist right off here. And then I will I'll get it close to that, round it out, finish it up, make the leaf, snap it off, form the ring. If all goes as planned. Best laid plans of mice and men, they say, right? So we'll see. Well, now I'm realizing a flaw about where I have I don't use the heel of the anvil all that much, but it should at least be in view, and I've got room. So let me just do a little adjustment here. Still have to remember to think backwards when I do these things, because of the nature of. All right, that's good. And then I'm going to bring it up just a hair. So you can, that's what I get for loosening the wrong knob. I was about to give you a 90-degree view. The goal is I want you to have this view, but I don't want it to obstruct the other camera. So we'll see. Unfortunately, my grandfather's tripod has seen better days when he was probably a younger man than I am today. There we go. So the part that actually makes it go up and down, the gears are kind of stripped and bound. That's better. I like that view much better. Let's tighten it down. Okay. Now that I've got that, there we go. I'm going to switch to the other view just so I can see if it got in the way. It doesn't look like it did. Nope, it didn't. Good. Cool. Metal's already nearly hot enough, as it's just been soaking in the heat. All I'm doing is bringing the heat up that it's soaking in, and it'll come up to heat real quick here. There we go. All right. Metal's nice and thin, so it's easy to move when it's fairly cold. Straighten everything back out again. And when I say cold, it is not even close to cold. It would still burn me easily. It's just, how hot do you need the metal to be to move the amount of mass you need to move? I almost forgot that what I needed to do to get this reverse taper over here is to bring it over to this side of the anvil. It's time to go ahead and heat it up. That's looking pretty close to uniform. It's not perfectly uniform. This is some of the skills that, just it's hard to develop, but I'm getting there. Of being able to eyeball uniformity. And I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to stuff like this. I can see it when I watch somebody else's video when it's not uniform. And I realize they're far more skilled blacksmith than I am, so if they can, live with the not quite uniform, then I should be able to too. Especially considering this is a little piece that's going to sell for, I don't know, a few bucks on a craft table somewhere. But my goal is to go from the chonkier style, now that I see it I can do it with this, go from the chonkier style of keychain I've made in the past to a little more delicate keychain. I just think that there's going to be some folks out there that prefer it. So, and that's definitely now more than enough. I just need to go ahead and get that. Let's go ahead and get the leaf flattened out. Actually, I'm going to round the stem first. Then I'll flatten the leaf. Yep. Get the forge scale off just so I'm not marking up my product. There's all that moisture coming out of the wood. You can see it. You can hear it. Looking out the pipe, the exhaust pipe, the chimney. A lot of white coming out, which is indication of steam. I can actually see it bubbling out. That's cool. All right, round this up. Let's just take the corners off. Take the other corners off. And again, it wants to twist on me as I'm doing it. You can see I'm not like putting force at it that's causing it to twist. It's just the nature of hitting something on edge, on a corner. The corner wants to push one way or another. Tap, tap, tap. I'll have to look back on the video after it's published and just see how much quality you guys can see when I do all this. So something that I saw Smith talking at a demo, he's a really good sculpturing Smith, and he was, I can't remember his name unfortunately, but he was talking about how he doesn't do a whole lot of brushing while he's doing his main forging. And that's because, as you can see, the scale just pops off as you're working it. And so as long as you keep working it, the scale's just going to come right off anyway. So you're losing heat if you're brushing it while it's hot. That's what he's saying. I can see some errant hammer blows in there, or maybe it's just where the fullering at the edge went a little deeper than I would have liked. But I think that looks pretty good, especially for something that's supposed to represent a stem. Let's go ahead and flatten out, and you can see as time went on, trying to figure out where it is, but yeah, that the leaf itself basically started wanting to center itself anyway. Get everything straight. Let's get that leaf made. Let's see if I'm gonna make it fall off or if it's going to actually hold on. Don't have to put it very deep in the fire if I'm going to just get the leaf hot. I think I'm going to get another, I think I'm going to actually finish this chimney by putting an actual pipe going straight up again and then put a pipe cap on it. Because I can see at times that that smoke does get blown right back into my Smithy again. That's definitely not what I'm going for. Okay, here we go. Establish it. Use the heel and the toe to try and pull it out without smashing it too much. There we go. Then I'll end up putting some veins in. That actually worked out fine. I think I'm going to do a little bit of file work at the tip where I did leave a tiny bit of rag before, because if you look at it, you can see some light bit of what I would refer to as flashing in any other situation. And I was seeing some hint of that while I was actually forging the tip too. So, but nothing that just a minor amount of file work won't take care of. It always strikes me that the form of a leaf also looks a bit like a flame on the end of a wick. I just haven't figured out how to put that knowledge, or that insight, if you will, into a piece of work yet. But it means I probably need to sit down with a drawing tool and sketch something up, see what I've got that comes to mind. So I'm going to go ahead and heat that up one more time, see if I can cause some appearances of how am I going to, there was one other thing I wanted to do. I want to, oh that's right, I want to put a center vein in it. And the easiest way I think I can pull that off is right there. Because it's a very sharp-edged anvil right at that spot. And honestly, holding this piece and chiseling is not something I'm good at yet. So I'm trying to avoid that by coming up with alternatives. All right, let's see if I can do this. Come over here. I can eyeball it best from this angle, I think. Might have lost the heat before I could use it. All right, I think I'll do it instead on the heel. But let's get some more heat first. And let's go ahead and bend it up there just a hair. so that I can do it like that. Yeah. The blacksmith's between the leg hold is another way to deal with this. But this is basically a barbecue apron that a friend of mine, dear friend of mine in Atlanta, sent me. It's perfect for this, to be honest, because it is leather. But I need to do a little modification on it that I saw Roy do, where he basically puts a V cut here or a split cut here, and then reinforces it with a up to the middle of the legs, and then reinforces it with another piece of. And let's see if that worked the way I hoped it did, and it did. As you can see, now we have a center vein. Cool. Now, let's see. So what I'm determining here is that my fuller side of the peen is not sharp enough to be able to put in the marks I would hope to put in that I've seen other smiths do with that. I'm going to see if I have another one that'll do the trick, or I come up with another solution. Let's look. See, that looks about the same. I'm going to try it anyway. Put this one here, put this one here. At this point, I'm not doing anything bad to it, so. Okay. Ah, that worked. And it's just an impression of veining. So now it doesn't look like some sort of perfectly flat. Let me see if I give it a brush, if it'll show up nicely on there. Yeah, it has some texture now that looks like leaf veins. All right, now put this one away. Go ahead and give it a little bit of a how do I want it to look? Yeah, we'll go like that. Okay. Now I'm trying to get the leaf to not just appear flat. Not only to have some texture, but to also have some curvature. Give it, otherwise it just looks like flat, textured steel, and I want it to look like a leaf. We're getting a nice hot fire today. All right. Now, this is where a straight peen would be useful. And the reason why there are so many hammers in a blacksmith shop. Okay, so now that I've given it a little bit that way, now give it a little bit that way, and that way, and hope I don't accidentally break it off the stem. There we go. So, now you can see it bends in various different directions, so now it actually looks like, in my opinion, a leaf. Now we'll finish up this part, bring it around as a loop. Let me see, how do I want it to loop? The way I want it to loop is such that when it sits on the when the keys lay on it, the keys loop and lay flat against the leaf. So it needs to loop this way. Okay. Let's make that happen. Do a little bit of fire management. We're not doing bad at all. It actually cooked the wood into charcoal perfectly. Still got some piled up to cook into charcoal. I think I'll go and grab some. Oh, get out of the way of the hot metal. All right. So another thing to note is, you know, gas forges are great. Don't get me wrong. I've had one. It's still sitting back there. But, you know, they can be finicky. You can have, you know, or you can have component failure, as I've had. Or you can have a problem with coming up with fuel because you have to take your big tanks to, you know, get them filled. Or if you're making keychains, this thing's great. You know, leaf keychains, you can make leaf keychains in this blade forge all day. But that's the point. This thing's a blade forge. It wasn't meant for making artistic blacksmithing works. I've watched some folks who have some really neat forges for doing artistic work, and they almost always have a wide-faced door on them because of the kind of stuff we make, you know, scrolls and bends and things like that. And then you'll see the next thing that they break out, and that's something I'll have to work on, is a torch stand, so that they can actually heat stuff using a torch, which is basically what's inside of a propane forge to begin with, is a kind of torch. But in this case, typically they're oxyacetylene torches. And I have that, but this little oxygen, or no, this little, I think it's the oxygen tank actually, runs out so fast that don't buy these. Just don't buy these unless it's specifically to do quick work around your property in one-off situations, very rarely. And even then, I still wonder if it's a great idea. It's definitely not useful in a smithy if you have any intention of using it often. And in case you wasn't clear what I was pointing at, I'm going to do it again. And I'm pointing at this thing here. That's the cheap kit you can get at, you know, honestly, I can't remember if it was Walmart or Tractor Supply or whatever, but yeah, don't do it. I bought it used from somebody who told me that he found it not as useful as he had hoped it would be, and I didn't understand why he was saying that. It was great that he was honest with me, so nothing against him at all in that when I say that. There we go. That's the end of that piece. And honestly, it's now ready for me to do another leaf. So I understand why Alec suggests just keep making them over and over again, because now I've got another taper there. It's a little bit longer taper than I would normally like, but you know, the worst I have to do is cut off a little bit more of that, put it in my scrap pile, and start again. I'm going to cool this off, and then I'm going to put her down here. In the meantime, the piece that went flying after I worked it to its end, this is back to when I need flat tongs, but I'm going to go ahead and cool off the leaf. So I can hold it by it without worrying I'm going to deform it too much. And I bet I could bend this cold, but I'm not going to, because I still want to finish that end off so that it looks like a tendril. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab my C clip here, except that it's not a C, I made an S, so I could have leaves on it. And now that shouldn't move. I'm going to put this in the fire. It's going to take no time to heat up. It up. Break off the tiny little bit that I didn't want that shape. Okay, that looks good. Now we just need to make the loop, and then we'll work on getting the tendril wrapping around the loop. Let's go ahead and So these are, steel, spring steel. I don't know what the part of the brush, bristles. That's it. And this is, probably cold rolled steel. Not a tool steel for sure. And it does an easy job of polishing the steel. So you can see it becomes nice and shiny. All right. Lets me be able to see, how many facets I left in there when I was trying to round it. And I did all right. There's some, I definitely need to get better at the rounding things. If ever I'm going to, have nice smooth tong handles like this, but this will do for now, especially since I'm making something that's supposed to look organic. One of the benefits of holding the leaf end with the tongs is the tongs will soak some of that heat so that it won't reach the leaf. Now, that'll be the tong jaws that's getting that, so I'll have to cool it off after a while, but the tongs can take it. They're thick. All right, come over here to the horn. Go past. Go ahead and tighten it up a little bit. Doesn't need to be a ginormous keychain. Get out to the end here so I can get a little bit better bend here at that spot. There we go. And it's almost like building a spring at this point. Get her back in the fire, warmed up again. Get it a little bit more rounded. It's like the leaf got awful hot. There was a piece of charcoal sitting on top of it. I used to watch some other smiths. For the longest time, I was just a bellows monkey at Renaissance forge that friends of mine had at Ren fairs or Scottish Highland Games. And I always used to see them move things funny in there as if they were scrubbing the floor of the forge pot. In our case, it was a forge pot. But scrubbing the bottom of the forge pot with the piece of work they were, and it turns out that's what they were doing. They were getting in their case, they always just talked about clinkers and getting down in there. But now I see just from experience that oftentimes it's just charcoal ash gets in the way of the blowers too. So it's always fun to realize you were learning something when you didn't know you were learning something. Sort of like wax on, wax off, right? Okay. Now for the finagly part, the finicky part, the messing around until you get it where you like it part. Because now I gotta make that tendril wrap. And not close up the ring so much as to be a problem. But I think that's a decent sized ring at this point, so we're good. Let's see what we can do here. This might be the point where I have to go use scrolling tongs to do this successfully. I have to say, I'm not worried about anything breaking off at this point. I can't move it with just sheer force at this point. Which makes me feel good. Okay, let me heat that back up again. This is the point where I lose the piece in the fire. Getting there. But did I accomplish my goal? Of course not. Now it's sitting 90 degrees from the ring, way I wanted the ring to go. So I'll have to work on that and hopefully not twist it off. Okay. I don't know that I'm going to get to doing anything with the big piece today, mainly because I've spent so much time trying to think through all the things I need to do for the little piece so I can make it repeatable. This piece definitely shouldn't take, you know, an hour and a half to do, 2 hours, but hopefully as I do more of them, I'll get faster at it. Better is definitely good, but faster is also important. And this is about when having a torch would be really advantageous, but that is not happening today. Because this gets hot fast, but it cools off fast too. Come on. And there's the direction I want it to go. So that I accomplished. And my tendril is about where I want it too, so that I accomplished. Now I just need to get the ring to lay in a way I like. Which is just a matter of using the horn Yep. Beautiful. That actually worked. What you might not have been able to see is I wasn't hitting the piece, I was hitting the tongs, because the tongs are actually focused to where I wanted the bend to go. So that is done. There's one niggling thing here, and that got it. Okay. There we have it. Give her a good brushing. Get some tools out of my way. Come on. I think I'm going to make that tendril twist down. I know I said I wasn't going to put it back in the heat again, but I was thinking about it and realizing that somebody could get poked with that in their pocket and that wouldn't be comfortable. So, yeah, I'll leave it alone. But I am going to give it a wire wheel. This brush isn't getting into the delicate areas at this point. Looks lovely. If I say so myself. Let's see if I need to do anything to make it autofocus. How about put it in front of it where it works? There we go. Catch the light. It's a Ryobi. It takes a licking. Of course, now it's covered in, the wire wheel's covered in dirt. There we go. Let's try that again. Looks good. Give a little brush in the area I was holding. Cool. Now just to give it a heat so I can throw some beeswax on it. And that is done. Just let it sit in there for a little bit. It doesn't actually need to be. My son, what do you need?
The torch.
I'm done with this. You want to see what it looks like?
Yeah, what does it look like?
Yeah. Been heating up in here just so I can melt wax on it. So. Yeah, there we go. Temperature to melt wax. Gave it a nice tendril wrap and this is all you can use lacquer, or you can use Johnson's paste wax, or you can use a number of other things like linseed oil. If you want it to be food safe, then use cold pressed linseed oil. If you want it to dry faster, use boiled linseed oil, because it has some stuff in it to make it do that. But there we go. Let's put it in front of here so maybe you can see it better. I'm going to give it a quick wipe off. Got a nice patina on it now from I think that's going to be a wrap for today. I'm not going to bother trying to get into stoking up the fire some more just for another 20 minutes worth of work. Or am I? Actually, there's enough coals in there. I think I am going to go ahead and at least use up those coals. So, here, check it out.
It is really nice.
And again, nice and thin, and actual, you know, keychain size rather than
Yeah.
the big stuff that I've made in the past.
Yeah.
Put this over here to cool. It's cool enough for me to handle with a rag, in other words, a pot holder, but not cool enough to handle barehanded. All right, let's see if we can get rid of a few more ribs on this thing. I'll take off this tool rest. Let's see if I need to pull the anvil over for this or what I need to do. But I'm going to just use a little bit of coals I have left in here because there is some. See about warming this up and doing just a little bit more cleanup on this before we call it done for the day. That's a good place for it. Ah, good. Just the weight of everything in there. Static system. It's actually a dynamic system. It's just that the dynamic forces balance. There we go, Angry Pixie time. There's going to be enough to get this thing hot. We'll see. Don't need this. We can cool this off and put it away. You can see the steam coming off of it, so. There's still heat in the system, just don't know if it's enough heat. If not, these will just be coals that end up burning down and I have to clean out the ash for. Of course, this is a very cold piece of steel, so it has to work at heating it all the way up. There we go. Let's try that. But that wet wood worked perfectly today. I didn't have to add any extra coal after the first starting. Yeah, I don't think we're getting there. Yeah, it's this one. Open the tweer up, get some more air to the back where some of the coal has been migrated. Oh no, I've lost a camera. Which camera did I lose? Oh, really, GoPro? I even had you plugged in. Oh, maybe I didn't. Let me see. I forgot to tell the to turn the GoPro's power on. Let's do this for the moment. Let's let the GoPro take a moment to charge a little. Let me see if I can actually open this now. Oh, I can, but of course I can't slide anything out, can I? Let me see. Did I make it so I can't slide? Yeah, I can't slide anything out. Okay. I also forgot to turn on the light. I had good light today though, so thanks to the sun actually participating. Let's turn it on and see what we get. There we go. Let's see if this makes a difference. Yeah, today it didn't make a difference. And that's all right. All right. But it's good timing anyway, considering it's about the end. And now I'm seeing that when I'm standing there, I probably want to turn this. Oh, that's that. Which one is this then? This one? Yeah. Turn that way. Makes sense. I swear, I am getting better at this every time. But our coals are done for the day, and I'm not going to put any more on because I think my wife would not approve of me doing so, in that I do believe it would result in me being out here another hour. And that's, I promised her my hobby would take up about 2 hours on Saturdays, and I would leave it at that. I might start doing some evening work, which I may or may not live stream. But if I do live stream it, it'll be impromptu. So, keep your eyes peeled on the channel of choice, whether you're watching me via Facebook at Jack Pines Blacksmithing, or on YouTube at Jack Pines Blacksmithing, or on Twitch at Jack Pines. All of those are ways to catch me doing a live stream, whether it's ad hoc or every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific, where you get to see what the Pacific Northwest is looking like. I'll bring you outside here where I can do my wrap up out here. You see the beautiful Seattle day. It is a gorgeous day. I think I'm going to end up building another greenhouse for the chickens to be able to hide away from the weather in. But to all of you that have joined me during this little journey today, thank you, and come on back and spread the good word that I'm just sharing the joy of blacksmithing with folks out there, proving that you can go from knowing practically nothing to creating something pretty with just the will to do it, and the a little bit of elbow grease, and I mean, you might not be making major art, but you can make some things that are pretty that you can give to people, someone you love. And with that, I'll say, love you. And, I mean that as one human to another. We sometimes forget we're all human. We don't have to agree on everything. We live and let live. We don't have to dictate other people's lives, and you don't have to be offended when other people's lives don't match up with yours. You can just enjoy yours. Love and light.